Hello viewers, welcome to this week's edition of Raxio Hour. On Thursday, 21st July 2021, RaxioData Center in conjunction with the American Chamber of Commerce in Uganda, AmCham, sponsored a webinar themed Keeping the Lights On in a Global Pandemic, How Business Can Stay Afloat. The American Chamber of Commerce in Uganda is a non-profit professional association founded in December 2008 by American investors in Uganda with interests in fostering and promoting greater commercial and cultural ties, cooperation and dialogue between Ugandan and American firms and related professionals. RaxioData Center is a Vice President Club member of the American Chamber of Commerce. Our very own James Byaruhanga, General Manager, RaxioData Center, featured as a lead panelist alongside Elizabeth Ntege, Chairperson, ICT Association of Uganda, ICTAU, Vivian, Ddambya, Director Technical Services at the National Information Technology Agenda, NITA, and Moses Bekabye, Technical Advisor for Economic Affairs at the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. In his lead presentation, James Byaruhanga, the General Manager, RaxioData Center, broke down what businesses needed to do to stay afloat during these challenging times where the COVID-19 pandemic has affected normal operations as we knew them. Let us now have a look at more of these highlights from the webinar.
Data is the new gold. So in giving away our data to whoever is asking for it, we are giving away our gold. So therefore, as a country, we need to manage the way we share our data with others, that is internally and externally. It is easier if your data is stored within Uganda's boundaries. It helps you to comply with the Data Protection and Privacy Act. And this act helps provide assurance for the data subjects on their right to privacy, and also that the organizations can be held accountable in the case of any personal data breaches or unlawful use. That is why, as a government, we are saying that data, especially personal data, security data, data that pertains to our economy, should be stored within the geographical boundaries of our country.
So data centers in general really play as a hosting environment for data. Vivian tipped about the new gold and us protecting our gold, which is basically data, keeping data in country. Obviously, that's one of the key primary roles that data centers help with, providing an environment where we can keep data in country, providing an environment that can provide disaster recovery for enterprises, with them having a primary and secondary location in two different sites, which obviously enables business continuity, allowing for cross-connection between enterprises, between cloud providers, between public sector and private sector, between companies and the exchange points that they can peer with directly, service providers, telecoms, submarine cable companies, global content delivery networks, these OTTs, as they call them. Everyone needs a home, and data centers are pretty much the home where all this can converge.
Companies to compete in the global market, they need to have plans and strategies around efficiency and effectiveness of solutions around connectivity, data storage, security. And when we talk about security, we're looking at both physical and cyber security, and issues around uptime. So for us to be able to compete, we need to address some of those issues, especially in the global market. The challenge is, how do we leverage and embrace and leverage the economies of scales of sharing some of that infrastructure that has been provided to us by government, as Vivian mentioned, and also Raxio. So for our members, we need to put ourselves and take up the opportunities that have been given to us to collaborate and leverage the available country network infrastructure. For example, if you look at the services that Raxio is offering, they provide third-party services to Ugandan enterprises, and so we need to take advantage of that in the way we do business.
Big data can be used also in terms of equity, for instance, debt management. Can be used for mobilizing financing, title records, and also in the management of intellectual property. The applicability of automation using big data is really very, very, very significant. In terms of government, I've mentioned the medical area. In the medical research, it can be used to identify diseases, diagnose illnesses, but also in the medical field, it can be used to undertake online surgeries. For instance, I've had something like that. And also I mentioned the health records to track and manage infections. For instance, the COVID disease pandemic. In the oil sector, as we move towards the production of oil, the systems for managing oil production in terms of helping to identify locations, to pinpoint areas of trouble, managing electricity grids along, not only along the pipelines, but also around the country. All that requires this big data.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Raxio Hour. We hope to see you again next week. Until then, have a fruitful weekend.